protected by just banning a clutch of Chinese apps, because more than 70% of the items and products in China, in India, are Chinese brands. The Chinese products are dominating the Indian market. It has nowhere reduced India's dependency on Chinese services. So when the government was asked about the reason for this ban, it stated that the main reason was that these apps were hampering the data privacy. But these malpractices or functions are not just confined to Chinese apps, but it is also confined to all the other apps in India. Also, I have not seen any reduction in the data protection or data security issues since then. Many of these apps has helped us to share content and knowledge, as well as express our creativity online. Some apps have provided an ideal platform for people from small town areas to express or portray their talents. We live in a very digitally integrated world where globalization of ideas and information helps in the building of or growth of economies. So denying access to services such as TikTok, an app which enjoyed a lot of users in India, is a step towards digital deglobalization. This has not only hurt the economic growth of India, but also the people's ability to perform or to share their ideas and concerns online. In apps such as TikTok, people could earn money by making videos, and for many of them, this was the only source of income. People could also learn a lot of new things through these apps. These apps were also could bring us investments worth $1 billion. Yes.
Yeah, participant, you can raise your question.
Okay, so the Prime Minister mentioned that just banning 59 of those Chinese apps would not really help in keeping the privacy of the Indian users. But it's not only about a clutch of 59 Chinese apps, but it's about the data of nearly about 600 million people from India who are using those apps. You must be aware of the national intelligence law of China, where the Chinese government has the right to access the data that the company stores. So, isn't this affecting the privacy of the Indian users?
Not actually, because if they have to take a step to avoid this, then they will have to be banning all the Chinese products and all of the Chinese services in India. So I don't see any point in banning just the 59 apps. I hope I answered your question. Moving on.
Sir, could I get please to follow up?
No, the points
No follow-up, sorry.
Okay, so we live in an era of innovations and technology, whereas it is important to maintain healthy relationships with technically sound countries like China. So, but this act has left long-term impact on the performance of Indian companies. Other companies have become very exploitative because of this ban in the apps. These apps had provided us with a lot of opportunities and ideas and had given us useful services which had made our lives easy. But unfortunately, because of the ban, this was not this cannot be continued. So I totally feel that this act was not beneficial to anyone. So when so these apps were so which bell was this?
It was just a 4-minute mark. It means that you have a minute left. But right now you have 20 seconds left.
Okay, so I would like to conclude by stating that these apps have not been beneficial for anyone, but have just brought inconvenience. So the government ought to not continue such decisions or take such decisions in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Points have been noted. Is there a point of order or a point of personal privilege that the opponent team would like to make? Okay, thank you. Moving on, we'll move on to the...
Sure, just give me a minute. I'll be back.
Sure. Participants, we'll just pause the debate for a minute. As soon as the judge is back, we can start again.
in the country. The COVID-19 pandemic might have fueled negative sentiment against China already, but the recent border skirmish between India and China has set the stage for a modern day Cold War. For now, this conflict is unfolding as a war between economies and trade, with technology being the unfortunate casualty. This is a call for self reliance and a broad focus on local manufacturing as well as social media calls for a boycott on Chinese products. This culminated in the ban of 59 popular apps under the guise of national security. These apps were alleged to promote activities that are prejudicial to the sovereignty and integrity of India. The media across the globe applauded India when it decided to ban Chinese apps, including TikTok, Hello, Shane, and many more included in the list. And the Indian Ministry of Electronics and Technology banned 59 Chinese mobile applications to counter the threat posed by these applications to the country's sovereignty and security, as stated in the press release. The interim order has been implemented on a wide category of apps, which include e-commerce apps, utility apps, video content apps, news apps, image and document scanners apps, and even online shopping apps. The government press release did not expressly mention to ban Chinese apps, but all the apps listed appear to be wholly Chinese companies owned. So the decision to implement the ban of these apps is due to the border tension between India and China, as stated by the India's Minister of Electronics and Information Technology, Mr. Ravi Prasad. The ban would be a digital strike against China. Earlier in April during this year, the Indian government imposed a condition that investments into Indian companies from countries which share a land border with India shall only be made with the government's approval. Press reports, however, suggest that the MEIT was generally concerned about the level of access of an Indian user's personal data to Chinese firms and companies. Some of the scholars have attributed their concern towards the national intelligence law of China, which allows Chinese government to require the data and intelligence services as obtained by the Chinese companies. A common justification for the Chinese boycott is the idea that it would spur Indian brands and ecosystems, which increase effort towards localization. India can play this to its advantage and build local tech talent. Many days after the app ban, we are already starting splash dash efforts to recreate a similar experience. Homegrown alternatives to these banned apps like Mitro, and then we have Chingari, Reposo, and ShareChat, which boast excellent user acquisition. India is one of the fastest growing smartphone market after China and second most populous country in the world. Samsung smartphones and Chinese mobile companies in India have been leading the smartphone market. But we also have the best Indian mobile phone companies as an alternative to them, such as the Micromax Informatics, Lava International, Zolo, and Intel Technologies, etc., which could be used as a substitute. The government's order has not been issued in the public domain, but the government is certain that the decision has been taken to ensure the safety and sovereignty of the Indian cyberspace and to safeguard the interests of the Indian mobile users. The Indian government has repeatedly expressed the concern with regard to data privacy and protection to the Indian users to make a change with regard to violation of personal data. The Personal Data Protection Bill 2019 has proposed a critical concern regarding the personal data of citizens stored inside India. However, these apps store the personal information of users outside India, which has become a concern of interim importance to the government. China has strongly condemned the ban and has discriminatorily aimed at certain Chinese apps as quite ambitious or far fetched against the fair and transparent procedure and which abuse the national security expectations. The United States of America has come out in support of India's move and stated it as a cleanup approach which shall boost the sovereignty, integrity, as well as national security of the country. This clearly is a major step to affect the economy of China, and China's limited military power is for the sake of preserving national sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity.
Okay.
Basically,
Thank you so much, participant. Your time is up. Yeah. Thank you so much. Points have been noted. Is there a point of order or a point of privilege, personal privilege that the opponent team would like to make? Participants, just note that you can only raise your hand for a POI before the 4th minute and after the 1st minute. If you raise your hand after the 4th minute, we won't be taking it under consideration. Okay, thank you. With that, we move on to the next speaker. If we can have the member of government on screen, we can start whenever you.
Yes, sir.
The floor is yours.
Am I visible, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, so good evening. I'm P. Chirantan. So I'm speaking for the motion. So we know that recently the Indian government has banned many Chinese apps which were very useful. But this was not at all a good idea, as many people depended on these apps for their livelihood. For example, people earn a lot of money through TikTok, and another famous game called PUBG was also included in this ban. So, but many people, the game built career for many people in India, and they earn lots of money to that. And it also brought up the gaming community in India too. But when these were banned, they became unemployed. And the people who were working in these app companies also became unemployed. But the government has not thought about them. And new alternatives, it is said that new alternatives of these apps also will come. But is it possible to release alternatives for hundreds of these apps within 1 year or very short time? No, right? It takes it takes a lot of time to do the coding, and many processes are there. And it's also said that a new game called 4G, which is going to release end of this month, which is an alternative of PUBG. But we cannot expect to get such a good quality game within a short amount of time. And so the government has not considered everyone's opinions and decision, and has just taken a decision suddenly and has shocked many people. And the government has banned that banned because they were Chinese. All of them were Chinese apps. Then what about the products which are in our home? They are also Chinese. Why doesn't it ban them? Because we know that it's impossible to do that, because if it happens, then where will we find those alternatives? So the same thing goes with the apps also. And if the government was so much concerned with the security of the country, then why did it allow them to enter the country when knowing it was Chinese? It was Chinese app. So therefore, everyone is just blaming the pandemic reason now and relating it to China, because nobody bothered about this thing before at all. So the government has once again been careless, and many people have invested their money in these apps and the game also. So what about their money? It's also gone. So this has impacted many people in a negative way. And this is also like lessening the relationship with India and China, as India is heavily dependent on the China for many of these products and these apps also, as China is a technologically advanced country as compared to India. So if the government keeps on banning all these, yes, sir.
Yeah. Participant, you can ask a question.
Okay, so you said that banning these Chinese apps would lead to a lot of unemployment between the people who are associated with it. So, what's your say that more employment would be created by the Indian apps rather than which was created by these Chinese apps? So, what do you want to say about this?
But it'll take a lot of time to release a very good version of Indian apps also. And we know that there were hundreds of these apps banned. So to create alternatives for them, it would take years and years of time, right? So therefore,
Sir, can I raise a point of order?
No, participant, you can raise a point of order after the end of the presenter's speech.
Okay.
so
Thank
therefore,
You can
I
go.
continue, sir. So
Yeah.
this shows that the government has just taken a blind decision without thinking of the consequences, what would occur. And this has shocked many people, and it has not taken their interests and their points of view. So therefore, I would like to say that this ban was not at all a proper one. And we know that this ban is not completely effective also. The PUBG servers are still working and many people are playing it. So this it was done carelessly, and properly the steps were not completely taken, and they were not completed also. So there was therefore, I would like to say that this was not at all a proper decision taken by the government, and it has caused a lot of issues to many people. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, participant. Points have been noted. Would the opponent team like to raise a point of order or a point of personal privilege?
Yes, sir. The member of the government said that we have hundreds of apps banned, but according to the statistical data, we have only 59 of these apps banned. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Judge, would you like to consider that?
So there has been a lot of apps banned in 2, 3 different waves of restrictions. So I really don't know what you're relying on to mention that only 59 apps are banned. Because if you remember correctly, TikTok was banned initially and PUBG's ban came a month or so later. So I mean, like, I really can't allow it because both of you are correct in your own way, but they don't really add up. Sorry, both of you are discussing different points and issues.
Okay. Thank you so much. With that, we'll move on to the next speaker. Member of the opposition party, you're ready to present whenever you want. Floor is yours.
Okay. So, good evening, everyone. I, member of the opposition, would like to put on some more weight on the topic, which is against condemning the ban on Chinese apps by the Indian government. On Tuesday, 29th of June 2020, 59 Chinese apps were banned by the government. After imposing a ban, the government of India has further blocked 47 clones of Chinese apps that were banned earlier as per Press Trust of India. As cited by several reports, the move to ban the Chinese apps was a retaliatory step amid the standoff between India and China in the Galwan Valley. We have a lot of reasons why this happened or this shouldn't have happened, but we need to consider the points which are really affecting India as a whole country. So basically, privacy, it is really an important matter. Right to privacy is really very important, which is being guaranteed by these ban on Chinese apps, as the data of the Indian users would be there in India only and would not be shared among the rival countries, and they'll not be able to access them in a negative way, which they usually would do. Then we talk about that India has indeed taken its step towards an Atmanirbhar Bharat, an independent country where people are self-employed. We would have more content creators, we would have more graphic designers employed, and as I said earlier also, we would have more employment generated than it is actually, killed by the Chinese apps when they were banned. So a lot of you would say that China's economy may not be much impacted by these bans, but I would just like to say that according to the reports of Sensor Tower, TikTok had approximately 11 million downloads, and Share It had about 400 million users, which is definitely not a small amount. And now, when these apps are banned, we would have as many as billions of users reciprocating towards India's economy and building it further. We have apps like TikTok, Cam Scanner, Share It, and their alternatives, which have been already developed, like Chingari, Noteblock, Adobe Scan, and Mitro. Then my fellow team member raised a question that globalization is being hampered. Well, I would like to say that no, it's not being hampered. You take the example of China only. China, a few years back, had launched its own Google and Facebook, namely Google China and Google Facebook. When they were asked that why they are doing so and wouldn't this action of theirs hamper the globalization, that they just simply said that of course it's a threat to their sovereignty and integrity. How can a nation peep into a security or the privacy of another country's use? Then I would also like to take up the point that China is now the world's second most leading economy, and definitely the step that they took a few years back was definitely being
I
reciprocated
have a
now.
point of information.
Would you like to take up the question, participant, or would you like to reject?
I would like to take it at the end if it's possible.
No, it's not possible. You need to take it now.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so you say that there are a lot of alternatives for these Chinese apps, such as Chingari, and you stated many more examples. So, don't you think the quality matters because uh, these alternatives are not up to the mark, or it is no match to those highly equipped apps, the Chinese apps? So, what would you say that the quality of Indian apps are not as good as the Chinese apps?
See, I would just like to say that a done something is better than a perfect nothing. India has just started towards its, a step it has taken toward creating its own apps and creating its own users. So I think that yes, the quality will slowly improve. It would take time, but I don't think so. You need to underestimate the Indian content creators and the Indian graphic designers. They'll surely make up it. And we know that India is definitely much more advanced than China, especially in the software technologies and app building.
Okay. Thank you so much. You can proceed with your statement.
Okay. So then I would also like to quote that Alibaba, which is now the world's second top e-commerce company, has about $500 billion of sale, which is again a very big amount. And that's only and only because that China took this step way back earlier than what we are doing now. Also, at the last, I would just cover up a point that it's not necessary to win a war by physical strength or army standing at the border and firing a lot of weapons. It's the 21st century. We need to be quick-witted and handle the situation smartly so that during an already ongoing pandemic such like COVID-19, we don't add more anxiety, more stress, and just try to maintain a national order and peace. It's not that we don't have well developed defense mechanism or we don't have weapons. India has the most sophisticated weapons, which has also US's weapons in the share. But we just want to act smartly and play smartly. We just want to give them an answer which is not supporting violence. With already COVID-19 going on, where the human capital is at a big stake, we don't want to risk our national, our human capital, because at the end, that is what matters the most. And
Okay.
I think that,
Yeah. What's up?
okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Points have been noted. Is there a point of order or a point of personal privilege that the opponent team would like to raise? Okay. Thank you so much. With that, we end the first set of the debate. We'll be moving on to the rebuttal round. Uh, just a few points before starting. Please note that the rebuttal round, each participant will have 4 minutes to speak. A bell will be rung between the first minute and the third minute to note the time is over. A point of information cannot, although, be raised during any point of the speech in terms of a rebuttal round. A point of order or a point of personal privilege can be, stated after the end of each speaker, each presentation to say. Uh, Please note that no new facts can be brought into light. All the facts that needs to be discussed in the rebuttal round is the facts that we've discussed under the purview of this debate, and no new facts would be taken under consideration. With that, we set the floor to the leader of the opposition party. You can start whenever you're ready.
Okay, so I'm starting it right now. Basically, many controversial points were put up by the Prime Minister and the member of government too. But I would just like to first of all raise a thing that what the member of government mentioned was that banning these apps would affect the livelihood of many people who are engaged within occupations under those apps. Basically, just think for an instance that if these apps were to be Indian apps, and we although this would take time, but eventually if these apps were to be Indian apps, we could have been created more employment than what is offered by the Chinese apps in India. So it's a better option to develop your own applications rather than being dependent on others for employment, or maybe. And then comes on to economy. If we talk about that, these apps are bringing out bonus points to Indian economy. Basically, they are bringing major impact on the Chinese economy, which China is certainly going to use against India, maybe right now or maybe in the near future. So it's better we do not give them a merit chance to point us like in any field. And then um, you talked that the privacy is not really a matter of fact, because what could 59 apps do regarding that? Like, why only China? Why not other MNCs which are coming up in India and being used up by all the users around? So basically, China, as I mentioned earlier, also has its own national intelligence law, which states that Chinese government can use all the data which the Chinese companies are collecting. They have the right to acquire that particular data, which is not so in all other countries. So that is why the Chinese apps are a threat for the privacy of the Indian users. Like, being particular for our country, it is a threat to the user's privacy and what the user want to like go on in the social world. Then uh, you stated that the if we are talking about just banning the apps, we should also take up like banning all the products that we have flooded the Chinese product in our Indian markets. It would take time. Gradually, people are stepping on forward not to use Chinese products rather than using more of Indian products or maybe any other product if not available Indian alternatives. Though these Indian alternatives are available for each and every Chinese product. And when it comes on to harming the sovereignty of the country, China itself had taken this massive step like years ago by not using Google or Facebook, which are like very great deal companies. And eventually, the reason given by China was the same, that they do not want to harm their sovereignty and integrity. Because of this thing, currently, China is out of the leading economies of the world, because China has always given a platform for their countries' applications or companies or maybe any sort of products to develop. We are going to give a platform to our applications, to our products, so that India could develop on a faster pace because we have the capability to do so. Then it comes up to globalization, that people generally say that if we are banning apps from other countries, we are hampering the globalization for our country. But basically, we are providing a platform to our apps so that firstly, they can develop on a small scale, that is on a national scale, so that they can further go take up their aspirations to the multinational company systems, and they could also contribute in globalization from the side of India rather than being dependent on other countries. And if we
Okay.
talk about,
Participant, your time is up. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Point to be noted. Would the opponent team like to raise a point of order or a point of personal privilege? Okay, thank you. With that, we move on to the last speaker for today. If we can have the Prime Minister on floor, please. Whenever you're ready, you can start.
I'll be starting. Good evening once again. I still believe that the banning of the Chinese apps has had a negative impact on India. I still feel that these Chinese apps have given us a lot of privileges and a lot of comfort. So there are a few points which the opponent team discussed, which I disagree with. Firstly, you spoke about sovereignty and integrity, that it is a step to safeguard these qualities. But I don't really understand how you can protect your sovereignty of your country by just banning these apps. Because let me tell you once again that all these products and all these services which we are being given, the Chinese products, or even in those mediums also, it is they will be able to get to know our personal privacy, our personal information. You talk about privacy. There are many other ways they can hack into our privacy and they can know our personal points. So, and then you talk about the opponent team. The member of the opposition spoke about a cleanup approach. So, a cleanup approach, I feel, is not just done by banning a clutch of apps, because there are a lot of things which you need to do for a cleanup of this country. So there are a lot of Chinese services and products which you have to ban so that a cleanup is done. So again, another point by the member of opposition, you say that you have to be quick-witted in this century. You have to be quick-witted and smart. So if we are smart, then we wouldn't ban these apps, because these apps have provided us with so many opportunities and ideas and platforms that that we would surely not ban these apps if we were smart enough and quick-witted. Then you say that China has a very they use only their own products, and they don't agree, or they don't use foreign products, which leads to their economic development. But China has a totally different type of government than India. This is something that we need to understand. It is China is somewhere a little more despotic, I can say, because but India is a democracy, and it is way different than how China works. So it is really difficult for India to just accept our own things and just go on our own, be self-dependent. Then, as I said earlier, the personal data can be leaked or accessed by various other services or products. And again, you speak about alternatives to these Chinese apps, but I feel quality, as I said earlier, is a great factor in here, which plays a really important role. When Indian products do not actually is not even a match to Chinese product qualities. So it is not really right to say that India is going to come with their own products and it is going to be more influential, or more, it's going to be better for our lives. But I feel the banning of these Chinese apps was really, did have a negative impact on us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Points have been noted. Would the opponent team like to raise a point of order or a point of personal privilege? Okay. With that, we come to the end of this debate. Thank you so much for taking part in the event. I'm pretty sure your judge has a lot of points and feedbacks to give. Shubhranshu, over to you.
Yeah. Firstly, really, really good speeches on both sides, because I felt that, oh, sorry, I felt that both of you did cover a lot of pertinent issues when discussing any ban, and also gave factual backgrounds to this specific debate in terms of the Chinese apps. Firstly, the proposition team, I have no idea how old you guys are, but really great. I'm really, really fascinated by how well both of you spoke and the points you brought up, because it's really encouraging to see young people take up to any activity and debating, which is so invigorating and interactive. It's really nice to see people from different backgrounds and different age groups talk about the same issues. And I'm not favoring them or anything, but I'm just really glad to see that they're speaking up. I really like both of your debates, and I feel that you guys could have done a bit more research in terms of how to align your debate. For example, when you guys are talking about quality of the apps, right? Now there exists a distinction between how you would deal with TikTok and how you would deal with CamScanner, because TikTok is a social media app, and the whole business model of a social media app is different from a utility app like CamScanner. Now, one thing you guys could have done was probably never got into that issue and said that we won't be looking at each app in particular, or the other way could be that we'll discuss the ban only in terms of these apps. Now, if you narrow or broaden the scope of the debate, you'll be able to analyze any issue better from either side. And I felt that that's what you guys can carry forward to your next round if you guys do go through. So yeah, best of luck. I really had fun listening to your debate.
Okay. Thank you so much, Judge. Thank you so much. With that, thank you so much for participating, both the teams. I'm pretty sure I had a lot of fun with the debate. It was, for me, these are something which I would have never done in my school life as well. And I'm really proud to say that, I'm proud to see, such young, bright minds coming and talking over issues and topics that generally 9th, 10th, or even 11th and 12th, standard student would actually be presenting in such a panel, to say, in such a front. So great work, guys. We'll keep you updated on who gets qualified to the next round. Until then, stay safe, have fun, take care. Thank you so much for participating.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
You guys.